What's up everybody? Welcome back to Make It Kustom. I'm Carl Fisher and today I'm back on the Zephyr. I'm gonna work on this quarter panel. That panel was just a tester and today we're gonna make the real thing, or fingers crossed it will be the real thing. So last time we made a bit of an extension for this English wheel and we'll see how it works making our low crown panel for the Zephyr right now. So here's the thing, this is the trick that you need to know about doing a wire buck, is that if you're gonna make it like this where you're gonna tack them together, you can't just bend the wire like that, although it looks like you're getting the shape. You can't put tension in it with it being able to spring back. You've gotta, I kinda like run my thumb along it and do sort of this, like pressing and pulling to try and get a smooth arc. And then you just got to keep checking your arc to see if it's going to be the right arc, but you have to get it pretty much bang on. And I'll tell you why. The reason being is that if you have any tension in the wire, as soon as you weld it, it heats up that one little spot and it's going to bend. It's going to relieve that tension in that one little spot, create a kink. That's obviously not what you want to do. So you've got to just keep working at it, and it takes a while. You got to be patient. This is the stuff that like will drive you crazy, but this is what you gotta do. You've gotta keep checking it to make sure that you get it the exact size you want. And the more perfect that you are here, the more you'll be able to trust the buck when you're creating the shape. So we're almost there. You don't wanna have to push it or pry it at all. You want it to, that's pretty much that. Not quite, went a little too much right there. There it is. So it's touching perfectly on all four with me just barely touching it. I'm not pushing it at all onto the piece. I'm just letting it fit. So I'm gonna cut that now. Trim a little off the bottom because there's always a flat spot at the bottom. Just gonna check it one more time. Just barely touching it, it's perfect. So we'll do that, we'll cut this. And then, I know you guys can give me a lot of flack for welding without a helmet, but just gotta make sure you close your eyes, and it's only for a split second. You don't wanna do this all day or else you're gonna get, you know, welding flash basically on your skin. Just a split second with the welder, just to get a tack. It's not gonna move it because it doesn't have any tension on it, so like, I wish you could see perfectly, but I'll show you. Like I just barely tacked the one thing and it is perfectly touching there, you know, right here, out of focus. It's perfectly touching there and it's perfectly touching there. That is the main thing you got to think about when you're creating a wire buck like this. And just super quick tacks, like it's tiny wire, so you don't have to be there for very long at all. Just a tiny little tack. Tiny little tack. Don't forget to close your eyes. And that's it. So we've got our shape now. I've made sure that it's really nice. I'm checking it with my radius gauge in the spot where this radius gauge goes, and it's beautiful. I'm checking it with my vertical radius gauge. Goes this way, and you know, it's beautiful. So now that it's got a frame, I can actually start creating this panel. So I'm gonna trace this out. I know my last panel came all the way to here. I don't think it's necessary. It's nice and easy access here for hammering the weld afterwards. So I'm just gonna make that rectangle and start using the English wheel right now. All right, so got our piece cut out, and somebody in the last video had commented on the way I was trying to explain the clouds or how you step up a shape into a piece of metal, and they related it to, or used it as like a metaphor of a topographical map. And if you think about a topographical map in your head and you see the mountains and they've got all those rings and then they write the elevations in there. Basically, that's what this is. That's what the process is I'm gonna have multiple frames drawn on this piece of sheet metal, and starting from the center, I'm going to roll through the English wheel a small area like this. And then I'm gonna roll a larger area like this, and then a larger area. And that is to lift the metal up by stretching. We're not gonna touch the outer frame of the metal because that's gotta stay this size, but we're gonna stretch and create a larger surface area of material in the center, and that, because it cannot go outwards, because we're not rolling over the edges of the frame of the piece of sheet metal, the only way it can go is up. So that topographical map reference is basically just to help understand that we're gonna roll the center, and then when we roll a bigger area, it's actually rolling the center again, and then roll a larger area, and it's rolling those two things again. So you end up having 3 full passes on the center, 2 full passes on the outer, and then 1 pass going further out. So you just need to stretch more in the center than you do going out. Hopefully I explained it okay. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna draw these clouds or these topographical references into the piece of sheet metal, and we're gonna start rolling. We're gonna have to do this multiple times. We're gonna check it on our buck or our wire frame on the car, and that is gonna show us where it needs more, and then we'll redraw that map and we'll roll it again. And where it needs more, we'll redraw that map and we'll roll it again. Even with such a slow curve like that, there is more shape in areas. It's not just this rectangle needs most in the center and a little bit more and a little bit more. It's got a bit of a organic flow to the panel that is not directly related to just like smaller, bigger, biggest. It's gonna end up being a little bit different. So we're gonna figure that out as we go, and that's why you create the wire buck. Yeah, I'm really excited to try out the English wheel and try out this rest. I've never had wheels that are this polished. I'm interested to see what the transfer is gonna look like, having a 600 grit upper wheel transferring onto this panel. Once again, if you haven't seen the last video, gotta make sure everything's clean when you're using the English wheel. We're gonna clean the panel, we're gonna clean the wheel, multiple times. Even the oil and grease on your fingers will transfer onto the panel, and it'll collect as little dots, and they'll stick to the wheel, and it will actually create little bumps in the panel if you're not careful. So we're just gonna try and keep everything as clean as we can and be as organized as we can with our rolling to make sure that we're consistent. That's something I struggle with, but we just gotta be thinking about it the whole time, and we should be all right. So let's get into it. All right, here's our piece. And, you know, if I hold it, just put a little pressure on it. I got the edges touching all the way. And you can see I've got quite a bit of crown in it. And guess what? Check it out. That really even didn't take that long to totally ruin this another piece of sheet metal. It actually is, it's totally ruined. I think it's so funny. I went way too far, like way too far. Well, I shouldn't say way too far, but too far to the point where you can't really bring it back. And I really only did like, I went straight across and then I did my X in the 3 clouds, the 3 topographical situations, and it's just too much. So I had the wheels too tight, I guess. Like, I rolled that other sheet so much, but I guess because it didn't have a buck to go off of. So if I'm pressing this against as best I can, that's touching on all the edges basically, and it's just a little bit too much in the center. Hopefully you can kind of see right in there. It's got too much crown in it. Everywhere else is kind of good. That's the situation. There are ways to kind of relieve it, but I just don't know. I just don't know what to do really right now, other than just cut another piece of sheet metal and try again. I'm just gonna go a little bit lighter on the wheel this time because I really didn't do that many passes. Like I said in the earlier video, I didn't say it yet on this video, but this guy has trouble with these. I'm learning. Don't expect it to be perfect because I'm figuring it out, but I'm trying. looking not too bad. This is where things get a little tricky for me and where I usually end up kind of messing it up a bit. Because I got so much shape in it so fast off the first couple goes, you know, I was trying to smooth that out because we do squares of, like we started with kind of like those squares laid out on it. You've got to smooth those out together, like where one square stops and another one begins. There's that transition that needs to be kind of smoothed out. So I've done a bunch of light wheeling all over it, and now I've got it pretty close. I worry that, you know, I tried to relieve the edge here, and I 45'd it across this edge to sort of smooth it out. I might have had a little bit too much tension, so I have a little bit of maybe overdevelopment here, I think, but it's really hard to tell without a ton of clamps, and when all the clamps are there, I can't really use the radius gauge. So I'm gonna go ahead and cleco this on now and just sort of see where we're at. I'm gonna try and hit this cleco. Not even quite enough overlap to get a cleco in there. Let's use a big. So there it is. Hey, it's not too bad. I think it's actually kind of the best panel I've done. You know, third time's a charm. Our radius looks really good. Maybe a little bit, if anything, it's slightly overdeveloped. I don't know 100%, but let's just see. Oh, see, this says it's not. Yeah, it actually looks pretty good. It does need a little bit down here where it's a little bit flat. I can sort of feel across it. We've got it pretty nice here. There's a little bit that could be smoothed out in this area. Like I have a bit of a high here, and it's almost like there's a line across here that comes down a little bit low. So what I'm gonna do now is just mark out what I'm feeling in the panel. Finding a Sharpie, dun, 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 dun. Drinking my coffee. Dun, dun, dun. I'm gonna grab a ruler too, kind of helps to see. So I've got a little bit of a flat spot right in here. I really hate to say it, but I feel like I did overdevelop this right off the bat. Like when I was kind of excited at how well it did fit really well, but as soon as I started trying to smooth it out, I think it is maybe a little bit overdeveloped. But we're gonna see if we can smooth it out, and because right now it's kind of low here and high here, and this is the overdevelopment I'm talking about. So if this is kind of our low, I'm gonna see if just some really light wheeling can sort of, I don't know. It would really help to have Rachel here today. Wish he lived closer. Everything looks really good here, and it gets kind of flat here. So this is an area that could be developed. You know, I'm just gonna keep trying what I'm thinking and see if we can't, you know, get it right. But if all else fails, I've learned a ton with this panel, and I know I'm gonna nail the next one. The other thing I wanna do is I'm gonna create a bead roller die to get this bead in here. Regardless of whether or not this is gonna be our actual panel, which I'm still fingers crossed that it will be, I'm gonna make that bead roller die and try out this body line. But I'm gonna try these few areas that I've marked out, and we'll see what happens. Okay, I'm pretty happy with it. It's not 1000%, but it's still a pretty good panel for me anyway. I mean, best panel I've made so far. Basically what I'd like to do now, since it's fitting really nice, it's got this one little high spot where I was talking about, but other than that, it's really good. It's really good. And I can live with that. Like, what I'll probably end up doing is try a little bit of the shrinking disc on there and then planish it with the hammer a little bit. But other than that, I mean, it's really good. So what I'd like to do now is figure out this body line. Something that I've been kind of excited to try out. I've never made a profile die for my bead roller before, but because my friend Preston, Lakeview Fabrications, he actually 3D prints different profiles of dies. I'm not gonna get him to make one for me. I'm gonna try and lathe one and get this profile in there and just have at it. And if this panel, like maybe I screw it up with the bead roll, who knows? I'm gonna try that first. So what I've got, I just got some material the other day. Basically, this is 2.5 inch diameter chunks of cold rolled steel round bar. So I'm going to drill my hole in the center and drill it out to 7/8 of an inch. I believe that's 22 millimeter. And that's gonna fit my bead roller. And then I'm going to trace the profile of that body line and basically just make myself a gauge, and by hand, I'm going to just shape this in the lathe, kind of like an Etch-a-Sketch, you know? I don't really have any other way of doing it. I mean, I don't know how you would do it other than programming it and using a CNC, which is what Preston does, and he prints them. He'll actually do it for you. Like if you're in the same situation as me and you wanna make a bead roll profile for anything, like if there's a specific bead that you've got, Lakeview Fab, I'll actually link him up in the description, because I actually think it's just a really cool way to do this. And if I had more time and wasn't so excited to try it today, I would just get him to do it as well. He did it on a Model A and it turned out wicked. It's kind of an inexpensive way to do it. So that's what I'm gonna do next. I'm going to drill that out and make myself a template of that body line, and then try and sort of Etch-a-Sketch on the big old lathe there. Actually, I'm not sure if I'm gonna use the big one or the little one today. We'll see. Okay, actually fits like really, really well. Check that out. It is dang good. I'm pretty impressed. What I'm gonna do now is just trace that body line on here with a piece of tape and see if we can't roll that out. I'm gonna put a piece of tape on there, and then I'm also gonna cut a little bit of the excess, like trim it off so that there's not too much sticking past the die. Like I don't need to stick any further past that die, so I'm gonna just trim 3/4 of an inch from the body line. That's kind of what I'm thinking. And we'll see what we can do. All right, let me give this a go. I ended up putting another line on here just because where the body line is, it's gonna need more material to do that bit of a curve. So that's why I've done that extra line. I'm not gonna use the table, I'm just gonna do it just by hand here. Would be kind of handy to have, ooh, look at that. What if I did this? Come here. Just as a bit of a helper. Would that help? I think it would. Oh yeah, that'll help. Kind of need the panel to do that while we're in there. Okay, here goes nothing. Went off the line a little bit there. I'm gonna have to try and fix that. It's really hard to see that last couple inches when I'm trying to hold the other side of the panel. Nice. Nice. Well, we're getting there. All right, I think that worked out really well, getting that body line in there. It also stiffened it up so much that I could kind of manipulate it a little bit to just get that beautiful curve that it's got. Couple problems with this panel. Like I said before, I think I have a little bit of overdevelopment in this area. I learned from that. I definitely had too much pressure on the wheel when I was trying to wheel out the tension in the edge of the panel. And the other thing is that my body line, it's not perfect. It kinda is too flat. It needs a little bit more curve in it. So 4th time's the charm, I'm hoping, because this is my 3rd panel and I'm so close. I feel like I've learned a ton about the shape and about how to get it in there. The wheel's working a lot better. I'm getting a beautiful surface finish on the panel, but I just need to take it a little bit slower and not use so much pressure when I'm wheeling and just kind of creep up on it. You know, I got really close right away, and then when I tried to smooth it out, it was just too much. So that's my plan now, is I'm gonna make one more panel. Hopefully this will be the kind of the finished panel, and I really need to make sure that I nail this body line, because that's something that's really hard to change. You know, it's got a very slow sweep in it, and if I don't nail it right off the bat, I mean, I don't wanna have to put a bunch of Bondo in there. I wanna make sure I nail that. All right, well, I'm pretty happy with how this panel's going. I'm definitely creeping up on the shape rather than, you know, going too hard, too fast. So I've done quite a few passes on it. I've got it sitting just beautifully over here. You can see there's like, the shine is consistent because I did more passes with lighter pressure. So you can see like, it's not lumpy. I've actually got a couple of tiny dents in here just from accidentally holding the panel funny. But here is my struggle on this one. See that waviness on the edge? That is something that I've seen in every panel, and it's because I've, you know, overdeveloped an area, and now it's basically got too much shape in here, even though I felt like I was being so careful not to. This is another skill that must be practiced, is what to do when a shape is overdeveloped. And on the last panel, I probably could have got it out of there. I just got off a little bit of a video call with a friend of mine. His name's Ryan Redanet on, I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly, but on Instagram, I've been talking to him. He's you know, learning metal shaping. He's gone to Racheline's class as well, and he practices it every single day. So I just wanted to call him and show him my problem here to see if he knows exactly what I'm doing. What I told him is, I said, I feel like I've overdeveloped this spot and that I need to stretch this out. And to stretch it out, we've talked before about having the frame that you don't touch around a panel, and that's so that the center can come out without spreading out. Well, that's the opposite if you want to try and back up a couple steps. So what I need to do is run this into the wheel right over the edge, like run the wheel like this, right over the edge, basically to relieve and stretch out the edge to lower some of the crown out of the panel. And I think that that is what I'm gonna do next, is just work on that. It's one of those things, for me, it's quite difficult to get this right. So I'm gonna work on reversing some of the process here by stretching the edge across like 90 degrees to the wheel, just running it in and out, and hopefully get some of that settled down. But I mean, all in all, I'm really happy with this panel. Like, it's very smooth. You can't feel any of the transitions, you know, from doing the steps. Like, it's pretty nice. So I'm very worried that I don't want to screw it up. I don't have any more material. I've like gone through so much material to do this. I'd like to settle this down and get this done. Let me tell you something, the struggle is real. People talk about the struggle being real on a lot of things. This is my struggle. It's so, oh man. It's so much easier to make a shape that's kind of harsh, like a gas tank for a motorcycle, or, you know, like a headlight bucket or something like that, because it's very strong. Like a smaller shape holds more, I don't know, holds more curve. I don't know what you want to say. Making a shallow curve like this that actually flows with the car on purpose kind of angles, like you've got a little bit of freedom with a motorcycle tank. Like it doesn't have to be exactly how it's going to be. Like you can just like it and stop there. This, you can't just like the shape and stop there. You have to like nail it and then stop. And knowing when to stop and where to add and stuff, it's so humbling. Like I feel like a total greenhorn, like it's like kindergarten, like learning my ABCs. It's just crazy. But this panel is now the best so far. This is the 4th panel. I've used up quite a bit of sheet, and I feel like it's very close. It certainly isn't what Ron Covell would produce, or Rachaline, or Lazzy, or any of those guys, but it's the best work I've ever done like this, you know, like it's held on with just a few clamps. It's pretty relaxed. It's got a little bit of pop in it, but the surface area is, like the surface finish is nice. The shape is so close. Like, I don't think it would take much Bondo. There's definitely gonna be some finishing work that's gonna have to be done with metal finishing and TIG welding and that kind of thing. But at this point, I'm going to do my best to get a really good line on here, and I'm gonna bead roll it, and I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed that it is gonna be a usable panel. I could ruin it with the bead roll because you can't really reverse a bead roll. So if I don't nail the tape line and nail my bead roll, I could lose it. But as of right now, I'm pretty happy with it. I think it's a beautiful shape. It's a nice panel. Like if I'm just kind of pressing this against it, it looks pretty good. Compressor just turned on, but you get the idea. I'm gonna ruin it with the bead roller now. All right, well there it is. Got the bead roll in there. It's got a good flow, except it's got a little bit of a wave in it. And I'm gonna do my best to try and make that disappear because the panel's pretty good and I don't wanna throw it away. But I can totally live with it. Like, it's pretty good and I'm very happy. You know, I think each panel I make for this car will get better and better, so I'm gonna make the other side and then start making the trunk panels and that kind of thing. And then hopefully by the time we get to this reverse curve and the roof and all that, we'll have had lots of practice. Thanks a lot for sticking with me. I know it's been a few videos on this struggle here, and you know, I've learned a lot. Hopefully you guys have picked up a thing or two. I've definitely, you know, taken some strides in my own metal shaping journey here, doing some low crown panels. So I just want to shout out to the channels that I keep going back to learn, you know, Lazzy, Rachaline Pro Shaper, Ron Covell, all those guys. Just great content. If you're into metal shaping, those guys are like metal shaping specific channels that are professionals, and they're who I listen to. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. I know it's a long-winded video, but man, my arms are really tired. Like, I can hardly hold up this camera right now. So thanks a lot for watching Make It Kustom. Quick thing, if you have not subscribed to the channel yet, but you regularly watch it, I would really appreciate if you do subscribe, because I just found out in the analytics that there's like more than double the people that are subscribed regularly watch the channel. It's kind of weird. If you subscribe and hit notifications, then every time we have a new video, which is twice a week, some guys are even just like figuring out now that it's twice a week, and they've just been watching half time. So anyway, much appreciated, everybody. And the membership thing is happening before the next video. I'm gonna pop that out for sure. We've just been procrastinating. I think that's all it is. The whole membership thing is gonna be kind of cool. It's basically just a way for you to help support the channel so that we can bring you better content. You're gonna get a couple of perks there. We're gonna have some members chats and things, like if you really wanna sit down and talk about some struggles that you're having, or if you wanna ask me questions, that sort of thing. We're gonna try and do those regularly. We're gonna get Christina on so you can ask her some questions. I know everybody's got some things they wanna ask her. As well as we're gonna, everybody gets a little badge on the channel so that I can search and make sure that I answer those questions for you guys. But all in all our content that we're putting out is still gonna be the same, and it's still totally free. This is just, if you feel like you're getting a lot of value from the content and you just wanna support us, we really appreciate it. And it's gonna just be $5 a month. You'll be part of the custom crew. So thanks a lot for watching, everybody. Don't forget to like, click subscribe, hit notifications. Get you on the next one.